Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard Cavs fans. I am Corey, and as always, joined by Alex. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, Corey, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Well, I'm sitting here reflecting. Reflecting, right? It's crazy. It's already been about a month since the Cavs, once again, unfortunately, were sent home early in the playoffs. And there's a lot I want to kind of get into as I've continued to watch the NBA playoffs. And now that we're at the point of the NBA Finals, Game 3 is actually going on right now as we're recording. It's halftime between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma Thunder. But before we get into all of that, I guess I'll ask this. What once the Cavs season ends, it kind of frees up some time and schedules change, school's done. Like now that we're like on summer break and stuff, what do you been doing anything or taking advantage or keeping busy or what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. Summer starts, kids are out of school, so doing stuff,
Yeah.
yard work. Got my son a table tennis for his birthday, so we got a ping pong table.
Oh
Been
yeah.
having some family tournaments.
Yeah.
I got the guitars back
Oh,
there, so
I didn't even
back
notice
to
those. How many are over
back
there?
to
About
playing guitar.
2 or 3 back there?
Two. So I
2.
got one Fender Strat and then like a classic standard.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've been just trying to take advantage of it finally being nice out. Because up until like 2 weeks ago, it was still like jacket weather, at least in the mornings. And like even around Memorial Day weekend, it was still not quite super warm yet. So I just been trying to take advantage, going outside every day, and yeah, doing the yard work, but also trying to fit some fun stuff in there too. My youngest is always down for whatever. She's my little buddy. Hey, you want to go on a bike ride? Sure, let's go. You want to go on a walk? Sure, let's go. You want to go somewhere to a park and shoot some hoops? Sure, let's go. You know
That's
what I
awesome.
mean? So
Yeah.
trying to take advantage of that. It was a long winter. So just trying to enjoy the weather a bit. Um, but I have also, like I said, been watching the playoffs.
Oh, we did go see the new Karate Kid movie. Absolutely awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, you were telling me about
Like,
that. I gotta
yeah,
check that out.
I loved it. Like growing up, like I watched the first movie all the time, and then the sequels were just okay, right? But Cobra Kai, really good show. So been watching that, but the new movie doesn't really reference Cobra Kai at all.
Yeah.
But it's almost like it's a separate thing that kind of picks up later on, but it does follow the whole Mr. Miyagi Daniel-san thing, but adds Jackie Chan and a new kid. But
Right.
it captures that early 90s vibe and great story, great acting. Highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of what I've been doing too. Is kind of binge watching some shows, and one that I started watching or just finished actually this week is Prison Break. I never
Oh yeah.
watched it. I'm always the guy that like watches a series, like a real popular series, like a decade or more after it comes out.
Yeah. Man, I watched that back when, you had to wait and watch one episode a week.
Yeah.
And that show was awesome. Yeah, I used to love that show.
Once I looked it up, I was surprised at how old it was. And come to find out, they even made a video game for it as well, like on the PS3 and stuff like that. Might see if I could pick that up for cheap or something. But yeah, that was a fun watch. And other than that, yeah, just been watching the NBA Finals. And Alex, I was kind of not really expecting to continue to be as invested as I have been, because typically when the Cavs are no longer playing, it's like this sucks watching other teams progress. And but man, it's been pretty enjoyable watching the finals. The Knicks Pacers series was a war. Not that I'm rooting for them, but the Pacers, it's pretty impressive of what they've been able to accomplish. The amount of comeback victories. It's hard to root against them. I'm not rooting for them, but it's hard to root against them. And now that the finals are starting, it's been a back and forth. It's a 1-1 series. This game we're in right now is back and forth. The Oklahoma Thunder jumped out early. Pacers battled back, took the lead at halftime. And it's very interesting because as I'm watching these games, Alex, I'm almost kind of comparing to the Cavs and like, how would the Cavs be reacting in these scenarios right now? Because as you can imagine, the level of intensity is much higher than a Miami Heat series. It's much higher than even what the Cavs Pacers series was. And I'm sitting there analyzing, thinking, can the Cavs handle, a situation like this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do the same thing. And in those situations, well, I mean, the Cavs couldn't make a shot. They couldn't get the ball up the court. Like, I'm still a little peed off about it, right? But at the same time, I have mixed feelings about it because, last season the Cavs lost to the Celtics. Celtics ended up winning it all. They were the best team. So,
Yep.
it doesn't feel as bad when you lose to the team that ends up winning it all and they're the best team. So I did kind of watch the Pacers versus the Knicks, and yeah, it was a war. But I also couldn't help but think that, man, if the Cavs had just gotten past the Pacers, they would have dismantled the Knicks. I don't know how they would have done against OKC, but I feel like they would have gotten this far had they not just totally screwed the pooch against the Pacers. But the Pacers are playing OKC really well, possibly better than the Cavs. So it's tough to say, but it doesn't make me feel as bad that the Cavs possibly losing to the best team. Only one team can win it all every
Sure.
season. So
Sure. And I'm with you with all that. The difference, I think, from last year to this year, it's like the Celtics, the Knicks. There's just certain teams that it's like, no, I don't want to see them have any sort of flowers in any way, right? So when the Celtics won it all last year, I was like, well, this sucks because we lost to the Celtics. I hate the Celtics. Yeah, I don't want to see them win. To where this year, if the Pacers somehow win it all, I don't think I'll be as upset as last year when the Celtics won it all, because again, it's kind of they're a small market, mid market team that kind of just came out of nowhere, and watching them play their style of basketball, it's they play the right way, and it's kind of they've been on an inspiring run as a result. And another crazy thing when I look at their roster, outside of SGA out in OKC, I don't think there's a top 10 player in this NBA Finals playing right now, which is kind of crazy. And I know Halliburton is climbing up the charts with all of his game winners and stuff, but if you honestly, before the start of the playoffs, said name your top 10, even your top 15, maybe even top 20, would anybody on that Pacers team, would they be in that top 20? Maybe at the fringe. And look what they're doing, and look at the success they're having. And past maybe three players, past Miles Turner, Halliburton, and Siakam, most NBA fans, unless you're a fan of the Pacers, wouldn't be able to name many other players on that roster right now.
well, yeah, I mean, it's a good team and it's a well coached team. I mean, Rick Carlisle is a great coach. Um, yeah,
He
yeah,
always
no,
just looks like he's
I
playing chess over there, doesn't he? He's not very vocal. He's
yeah.
just always thinking. He's just like he's always playing chess in his head, it seems like.
Every time I see him, I think he looks like old Jim Carrey. He looks like Doctor Robotnik, or
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Just
what he looks like.
just needs the
Doctor
stash.
Eggman.
He just
Yeah, he
needs
just
the
needs the
stash.
stash. He's a total dead ringer for Jim Carrey. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. Like, small market team kind of came out of nowhere. Not like any mega superstar on that team. They're just playing the right way. Aggressive, fast, great defense, fun to watch. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard not to like him. When I hear Halliburton talk in the post game press conferences, it's just seems like a genuine dude.
He's got some
Yeah,
he's got some swag during the game. He's got
yeah,
some swag. But
yeah,
yeah, he
yeah.
seems
I didn't
he
like the
seems
whole big
yeah,
balls thing or the
he,
choke thing. It's like, dude, like, quit trying to rip off
he
Grant
seems
Hill
pretty
and
humble
but
though. Yeah, when
yeah,
he's
yeah.
talking, and there's no drama there. And then on the other side, Alex, with OKC, they're just a fire. They just score. They just score the basketball. But again, outside of Chet, outside of SGA, outside of maybe Jalen Williams, Again, not a lot of people on that roster that a lot of fans would know outside of that market. So it's an interesting NBA Finals because you have two smaller market teams there. You don't have the LeBrons, you don't have the Stephs, you don't have that generation. You don't have Giannis, you don't have that generation. It's kind of the new generation, and it is kind of cool that it's going to be a first time champion in either of these franchise histories for whoever wins as well. So it's been fun to watch, and like I said, I wasn't planning on watching as much as I have been, but I have. I'm a basketball junkie. I can't help it, Alex.
Yeah, yeah. I really haven't been watching too much of the finals yet. I just been kind of checking the score, seeing who won, but I haven't really. I don't know. After the Pacers beat the Knicks, I was like, damn it, the Cavs could have done that. I just kind of checked out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully the Cavs are watching and analyzing as well. I'm sure they are, but not just the coaching staff. I'm talking the players as well, because could the Cavs be there right now? Sure, if a couple things went their way, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. But let's just play pretend for a minute. Again, would they have the mental toughness, the physical toughness to play at this level right now? And until they do that, it's always going to be a question mark. And it stings that this is the third year in a row that the Cavs had all the potential in the world, but wasn't able to get to this level. And naturally, that's going to lead to a lot of off-season discussions from fans on forums, on radio shows, national media, so on and so forth, about whether they should run it back or blow it up, right? But one thing that really the biggest piece of Cavs news that has come out since the end of the season, Alex, is Darius Garland just had surgery on his big toe that now puts him out for 4 or 5 months and ultimately out for the start of the season next year. So that's an interesting thing to talk about, Alex, because first and foremost, it actually kind of solidifies how much pain he truly was in during that series, right? And he tried to play, and he did play. He missed, I think, only a game. He missed like 2 games, I think, but he wasn't 100%. But now, two, does that put more urgency around potentially what the Cavs need to do this offseason, because now they don't have their starting all-star point guard at the start of next season?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's what I heard. Out 4 to 5 months. Um, Ty Jerome
Ty Jerome's a
is our
free
guy.
agent.
I
He's a
know
free
we
agent.
got to hold on to him.
We got
We
to.
need Ty Jerome.
And here's the thing. Yeah, to me, I mean, Ty Jerome was always, in my opinion at least, going to be the number one priority this offseason. And it's very true with the way he played this year. It's very possible he is now out of our range as far as being able to afford him. It sounds like he wants to be here. It sounds like the Cavs want him back. And minus the playoffs against the Pacers, he had a hell of a season, right? With Darius Garland not starting at the start of the season, I think it's crucial now that you find a way to bring back Jerome. But at the same time, the Cavs need to also prepare for that just not working out for whatever reason. And they need to be also keeping their eyes open for other areas potentially as well. The problem is, Alex, is they don't have a lot of money to spend. All they basically can do is go and throw a minimum contract out to some veteran that, hopefully still has something left in the tank and wants to play for, a championship contender team.
Yeah, with being over the second apron, they're very limited.
Yeah.
They could trade, they could do a 1-for-1 player trade, or they're gonna have to shed some salary to get back under.
Yeah.
That's really their only options.
Right. And this is where I wanted to spend a minute or two and get your opinion on, another option. And we've always said this. Neither of us will sit here and pretend like we understand everything in the salary and all that kind of stuff. But, this off season so far, very young, a lot of fluff kind of BS articles out there right now, but it feels like last season's offseason, meaning the two names you hear come up for the Cavs the most in trade rumors is Darius Garland and Jared Allen. So, I know he just went under surgery, but another option is still the possibility of listening for offers for Darius Garland, right? Which then maybe open and gets you a body or two in return, and maybe opens up the possibility of being able to, more comfortably sign Jerome and bring in someone else that can also help the roster somewhere else. Um, Jared Allen, I think, is still, $20 million a year for his production. I don't see you getting back better value than that. But Alex, if you were to wear the GM hat right now, kind of where are you at? Are you running this thing back? Are you considering all options, including someone like a Darius Garland, who, out of the folks that they probably would move, even though he just had surgery, would probably get you back the biggest return?
I mean, absolutely. I'm considering all options, I think.
That's the first time I feel like I've heard you say that in a long
Yeah,
time.
I was always let's keep the core together, and I still feel like let's keep the core
Yes.
together. But I also don't think anyone is untouchable. I mean, especially what happened after this season with Luca. I mean,
Yeah.
you had one of the best players in the league get traded.
Did you see all his workout photos and
No,
videos?
is there some
He's
workout
like he's
videos
like
floating?
he's like your size now. He just miraculously shed like 35 pounds somehow, and he just looks like a beast.
He's
And
got a chip on his shoulder now after
yeah, that's good.
Dallas talked all
That's
that
good.
smack about him being overweight and
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's
eating
seriously though.
cheeseburgers and drinking beers, and yeah, that is. I'm not surprised
I
by
I
that
always
at
love,
all.
by the way, real quick, I always love when that stuff comes up, and then the Nuggets fans just like the troll by showing Jokic with no shirt on, drinking beers and eating food, and then is like a 3-time MVP winner, and you know what I mean, like the face of the NBA. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, but no, seriously, I think that's the first time. I totally wasn't expecting to hear you say that. Um, and that's where I think, again, once you're at year 3, like, this was a very good basketball team, right? They won 60 plus games, dominated all year, number 1 seed, but it's the third year in a row where you come up short. And you could say, yeah, it's bad luck because of injuries, right? But at some point, when do you shake things up? And sometimes that's what ultimately gets you over the hump, right? That Celtics team that won it last year, they had that core together for a while, and then they made some changes, right? They move out Marcus Smart, they bring in Al Horford and Derek White, and they do something, Porzingis, and what happens? They finally get over the top, even though they really were a title contender for 3-4 years in a row. Are the Cavs at that same place right now? And is it time to swing for the fences in a different direction? It's hard, man. It's some days, Alex, I'm like, nope, run it back. And other days I'm like, yeah, you got to make a change. I just don't know what that change is. Is there anything out there that would entice you, like, realistically, that would entice you to
realistically.
be like, yeah, definitely, I'm making Garland Allen trade for X player right now?
Man, that's tough.
Rumor is Kevin
There's
Durant's looking for a new home. Giannis
I don't know if I want
potentially.
I don't know if I want old KD.
I don't want KD. No KD. What about Giannis? Would you
Giannis,
would you entertain
yeah,
it for
yeah,
Giannis?
I'd be in the Giannis camp.
Okay.
I think that would be a solid pickup. Definitely an
Yeah.
improvement over Jared Allen. Giannis would cost us a lot. Like I
Yeah.
was saying, to even make a trade like that, we'd have to get under the second apron, which would mean shedding at least 12 million in salary. So, I mean, that means cutting, uh, Okoro and Dean Wade, like shedding both those salaries just to
Yeah.
be able to make the trade of Allen and Garland for Giannis. So
But I
it's really
think
reaching.
it is. It is really reaching.
Plus, do I think the Bucks do that? I don't see it.
Nah, it probably wouldn't be for Garland or Allen. They would want Mobley. Mobley would be who they would be interested in. and local radio stations have already played that hypothetical and done the back and forth on why they would or wouldn't do that.
Do
But
you?
they're not.
Do you
They're
give up Mobley for Giannis, Corey? Defensive Player of the Year?
maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe I would. I might. It would shorten your window, right? But at the same time, this core has already had 3 years together. You're not getting 3 more years with this core. You're not going to have a 6-year run of falling short.
Giannis has a ring. He's in his prime.
You might only have a 2-year, 3-year window if you did that with Giannis and Mitchell, and before those guys want to do one last hurrah somewhere else on the back end of 30, 35, right? But anything's out on the table right now. I feel like if they do run it back one more year, certainly next year is the last year with the core four, right? You can't continue to do this, right? So to me, it also puts an immense amount of pressure on this team to deliver next year. Otherwise, it's not a should there be a shakeup. There will be a shakeup. It's just whether or not the Cavs want to do that shakeup sooner or not. And remember, Alex, like when that Donovan Mitchell trade went down a couple years ago, there was nothing. The Cavs, like it was New York, and it's certainly like the Cavs weren't even in the discussions of that, and then it just happened. So we know this team is capable with the transactions they've made since we started doing this podcast. They're very capable of making trades that come out of the blue, and on most occasions winning those trades as far as getting the better talent back. So even though they're so handcuffed right now, there's still this little part of me that's like, well, what if they do something crazy? So as fun as it is to be watching the finals, I want it to be done so we can get to the draft and so we can get to the transaction part of the offseason so that we can see, Alex, what other teams do around the league and ultimately to see if the Cavs do anything.
I mean, it's absolutely possible. They could go for broke.
They could trade Mobley, make Luke Travers that new guy at the
No. That's going too far.
All right.
Luke Travers. Can't even get a roster spot.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough team to get a roster spot on right now.
It is. We got a stacked team. We were really deep.
Yeah, we really were. And again, when I and I'm not taking away because some of these players, I mean, they're coming in and they're definitely contributing for both OKC and the Pacers. But I'm going down their roster and I'm like DeAndre Hunter's better than this guy. Ty Jerome is better than this guy. Like Max Strus is better than this guy. Like I'm going down. I'm like, it's hard to watch. But what they have that we don't, again, is something that, it has to either be built into you. You don't just learn mental toughness in the offseason. You either have it or you don't. And the Pacers have some guys that have that. OKC has some guys that have that. And that's really what this Cavs team is missing, I think. And we've talked about that before. So Darius Garland out for 4 to 5 months. It might scare off some teams, Alex, but I do still think teams will ultimately have interest in him. Again, a lot of fluff BS articles, but I have seen teams like Minnesota and Sacramento potentially being interested in him. I think I was telling you at work one day, if he did get moved, send him out west. Send him out west. Don't help some team in the East. I don't want to face him in the second round of the playoffs somewhere. You have to deal with that. You know what I mean? Send him out west where we're going to see him once, twice a year. And yeah, that's fine. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Wendy seemed to think that there's absolutely no chance now that he gets traded, now that he had surgery. But I still feel like there'll be teams that'll be willing to line up for a young all-star point guard and take that chance.
Yeah.
Cavs
it reminds me of trading Kyrie all over again. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, different scenario because
it is different. But at the same time, it's your all-star point guard, possible future. Like you said, if you're going to trade him, shoot him out west. We don't want him to end up with Boston or something.
No,
that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, But at the same time, I think you're going to get a pretty significant player back if they were to move someone like him, or at least you're going to get some pieces back that might ultimately be a better fit. Because another issue that doesn't go away when they run it back is the Cavs still have one of the smallest backcourts in the NBA. And another thing, as I'm watching this Pacers and Oklahoma series, is neither one of them have a traditional point guard. It's Halliburton bringing up the ball, or it's SGA bringing up the ball, and they're not traditional point guards. You know what I mean? Like a Darius Garland is, or a Kyrie Irving was, or so on and so forth. And I'm also thinking, like, if we were playing them right now, Darius Garland wouldn't be guarding Halliburton. He'd probably be guarding Nemhard. I don't know who he'd be guarding on OKC, which means, does Donovan Mitchell have to guard, SGA or Halliburton? Like, the other kind of positive spin I could put on it potentially if they did move someone like Garland is, does that allow you to not have two ball dominant backcourt players, and also allows you to get a more defensive minded or some more size at whoever that replacement would be? Or maybe just a better fit all around to guard the Halliburtons, the SGAs of the league when you're matched up with them in a playoff series. Like, we have to start thinking about that level, because Garland's always going to be a liability defensively, and Mitchell will be too, to an extent, because of their
Yeah,
size.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we do this every year. Like,
We do.
who do we match up against and lose to and struggle against? Oh, it was Tatum. All right, we need that player that can match up against Tatum. Ooh, DeAndre Hunter, he's got the size.
Yep.
He can match up against Tatum. But we
Yep.
didn't run into Tatum. We we ran into, Halliburton and Siakam Pascal, and it's like, all right, now we're game planning for these guys. It's like, yeah, you really can't do that, and I don't know. It's tough.
It's very tough.
It
It's
was
very
also
tough.
it was also our first season with Kenny Atkinson as coach, and it was, I'm not saying this is an excuse, but I think
Sure.
that it was a learning experience for these coaches as well for the Cavs. So I definitely expect big things next season, whether it's running it back or adding some piece. I don't think Kenny had much say at all in this team that he coached this season, but next season he will. So we'll see. What pieces move there.
Yeah, and even though I'm just creating some banter for the sake of off-season banter, I'm going to flip-flop in my mind probably all summer long on what they should do. But it's certainly not a scenario where I'll be dissatisfied if they run it back next year, right? Because they were a very good ball club. Um, and I always know that small tweaks can be made throughout the season as well, right? You mentioned Okuro, you mentioned Dean Wade. There's other guys that are on this roster that certainly, you know, aren't untouchable. Max Struess, like there's smaller things that could happen, right? You move out an Okuro, you bring somebody else in, or Dean Wade, or Max Struess, or some of these other guys, some other team has interest in, and they've all at different times kind of served their purposes, but sometimes it's just about fit, right? And if you can get a better fit of a player in, it's like, yeah, yeah, Dean Wade, thank you. We're gonna move you now. You know what I mean? Like that's just what's gonna happen. So, but I also know that this team should be very competitive next year with running it back as is as well. My only biggest concern again is, if they don't lock in Jerome and they go out and get some veteran minimum contract point guard, and it's that person and Craig Porter Jr. to start your season, that is going to put some more pressure and some more strain on Donovan Mitchell as well, which is not how you want to start the regular season, right? So I'll feel a lot better if they can lock up Jerome with just running it back as is too.
Yeah, well, Garland out 4 to 5 months, so that puts him at a return at what, September, October.
Yeah. They already
So
said he's basically going to miss the start of the season, and that timeline can change, right? You just don't want to be in a scenario where you're rushing him back early because you don't have a true point guard out there, and you're not starting off the season like you want to, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but Ty Jerome just got a little bit more leverage. That's for sure. And kind of playing hardball with well, why should I take that, real big hometown discount when you don't even have a starting point guard right now, right? At least if I'm his agent, why not play that card,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, it's not going to get much since we're under the second apron.
I know.
Not much from the Cavs, at least not yet, until the Cavs make a move.
Right.
Garland for 2 first-round picks.
Yep. Hand the keys to Ty. Hand the city to Ty.
There you go. The future. One of the core now.
Yeah. Man, I just checked the score. It's like the end of the third quarter, and this game's still going back and forth. Oklahoma is up 1 against the Pacers. That's going to be a good one to watch here. Maybe as we wrap up here, Alex, watch the fourth quarter, watch the end of that game. Anything else you want to talk about Cavs-wise, Alex, or just NBA in general?
Oh, I can't really think of anything else.
Not watching no old Cavs clips on YouTube or anything like that? You're not at that point?
I watched a couple YouTube clips of I watched the last road back.
I was going to ask you about that.
I can't really remember exactly what it was about.
Okay. Well, it was. I know it was about the end of the season, basically, and I never watched it because it wasn't going to be okay. Great. I don't want to see.
Yeah, it was them going into the playoffs.
Okay. So it wasn't even them actually being after eliminated and stuff. Yeah, we really didn't get into much of those episodes this year. We'll have to do better at that next year, next season or whatever, because usually those are really fun to watch and kind of talk about. But yeah, I'm not at that point yet where I'm just YouTube clipping it up yet. Maybe when the season's done, we get a little further into the summer, I'll be doing that.
I was looking into when the next season of the starting 5 will be out. And it's not going to be out till later this season, but 2 of the players that they follow are in the finals right now, Halliburton and SGA, so should make for an interesting season at least.
Yeah, that would be cool. I do need to check that out still. I remember you talking about that a while back.
It's on Netflix, I think.
On Netflix, called Starting 5.
Starting 5. So they follow 5 NBA players, and it's kind of like, I can never remember the name of that NFL show, but basically they follow them throughout the season. It's all kinds of behind the scenes.
Yeah, Hard Knocks
stuff.
Like Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, yeah.
But this is individual players basically instead of a full team.
Right.
No Tristan Thompson on there, huh? That's interesting. So. All right, Alex, let's wrap this one up. Want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, let them know where they can follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Leave us a like, subscribe, rating, or review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.